Okay, and here we are in morning about 7:30 probably, en route to the bus depot on a different kind of tuk-tuk. This is on the open air. Sits on a motorcycle there, and I sit here, the front point, in other words, the bumper in case we hit anything. Right now it's cool, almost chilly riding in this. But extremely refreshing, particularly when your brain anticipates what the weather will be like, the temperature later today. So this is the bus depot or bus terminal. It's actually a pretty good one, fairly large. So when I got here, you don't get buy a ticket for Phitsanulok. You just come here to number 14, and at 8 o'clock you get on and you pay for the ticket. And in case you think I'm too anal, I got off the bus in Phitsanulok from Sukhothai, fully intending to spend the day here and the night and then leave early in the morning and by train. But I thought, well, there comes the train station, make sure I can get a ticket for the time I want, which I thought would be late at night. But then they told me I could leave at about 1:30, which I was a little concerned would get me there too late. But anyway, I thought I'd risk it. So I booked a ticket, grabbed a couple of chicken thingies off the Barbie, one of the little side stalls, went over to the nearest 7-Eleven. There's always a nearest 7-Eleven. Grabbed a soda water, and I'll go back to the railroad, sit down, and figure out what I want to do between now, which I think is around probably 10, and about 12:15 when I'll get back to the station. This is the train station, and unlike parts of France, any place I go where they're selling tickets, they speak English. Duh. Here's a little railroad train. Notice this little stick this lady has. It's the same on the other end. It's designed to allow her to carry those two baskets over her. I'm going to go inside and see if I can find a place where I can get something to eat that I'm sure is nice and hot and has something similar to what I'd like to eat in it. It was funny, as I was coming out of the 7-Eleven, I opened up the door for a lady who was coming out, and then with a sweep of my hand and a gesture to come out, she did, and the man ran up to me and shook my hand. I thought that was pretty cool. So this is my meal, and it's chicken, and it's hot. They let me go over there and touch the pan, so I was sure it was hot and well cooked, but it's been steaming for a while, and the rice was hot, and she suggested I touch it, so I didn't. It was really hot. This I have no idea what it is. Oh, thank you. But I think it may be a kind of tofu. It has that texture about it. I'll just let it run for a bit, see what we get from it. This is no doubt a family operation. The son will eventually learn to do what the dad does and contribute. Whether they aspire to expand or anything like that, I have no idea. But as you can gather by looking around, a lot of people in Thailand drive very nice cars, very nice trucks, some that we see in the United States, like that one I think is a Chevy. It is. Yep. So don't let us stereotype people. Now I'm going to try and focus on the lady to my right in the hopes that you can see the way she's using her knife, her spoon and her fork. Fork's in the left hand that's used to basically move food onto the spoon. And the reason they use a fork and spoon here as opposed to chopsticks is originally people here in Laos and Vietnam apparently didn't use chopsticks. They used their hands or their fingers. And so the natural progression for them was to leapfrog probably the idea of chopsticks and go right to what the Westerner used. There are lots of these homages, if you will, to the king. King, like the British king, stays out of politics, which wage around the king on occasion. There it is there, hidden behind that sign. It's the one I would have chosen first. Around this local area just to kill the time. Because it'll be a 7-hour train ride, which I'm actually looking forward to. That's why I decided to come here instead of taking the bus from Sukhothai up to Chiang Mai. The railroad station is back to my right on this street, but I see a park up here, so I think I'll just go up and investigate it a bit. Doesn't look like a park, looks like some kind of government facility of some sort. It is, but sometimes I encounter smells, so I'm getting one coming right at me in droves. It just about chokes my throat. It's something in the spices of the food. Here's a little pedicab, this one with a nice little cover, which is kind of cool. These are all very old, and they're not used much anymore. So it's about 11:30 now. At about 12:30 I'll go back over where I ate before and eat again. After an hour plus delay, we're finally leaving for Chiang Mai. There's a little beautification project, which is encouraging for everybody. This looks like a very early growth stage. Notice how wet it is. What I don't know is whether they plant these mechanically or by hand. I think mechanically. This is secondary class aircon, so we get this little meal, which is not a hot meal, it's a cold meal for some reason. And then some water with ice in it, all of which I have to be suspect of. Much of this may not turn out because there's a double pane glass and it's also dirty. With kicking back reflections. Whether these hills foretell the topography as we go further north, I don't know. But they're a nice diversion from the vast flatlands. Much more interesting than taking the bus. I'm really glad I made this choice. Village pretty high up in the mountains here. Be interesting to know what their livelihood is. I think we hit the top and now we're on our way down through a tunnel, obviously. Nope, we're still grinding up a little bit. I think all these cuts here in the slope may be to protect the track from soil slides. This looks like corn stalks down here. They may very well be. Stopped at the little town of Mae Mo, and if you haven't seen one of these devices before, it's designed to hold usually a mail pouch or something like that. That thing with the red ball on it, that arm swings out when the train goes by. Either automatically picks it up or someone grabs it. Okay, I figured out where I'm going. We're in the center city of Chiang Mai, and where you see the red dot and then the black circle to the right where it says Watchediluang or something like that, that's theoretically where my guest house is. I've gone to the right down that street that goes up and down. So I've come down to here, walked along Watchediluang, and I'm hopefully going to here. But I can't get a fix on which these streets here are, but shouldn't be a problem since I should run into a T intersection here. Now en route to there, I discovered this old wood building that looks like it may be set for restoration. I hope so. They're still in the process of removing vines from it. They've chopped down some of the big trees that were here to give room in case, I don't know if they don't look like they were dead, so perhaps they're going to develop this into something, but right now it's in that in-between stage, which could last for years. So this is a site that's en route to the one I think I'm trying to get to. Again, you can notice a certain kind of stylization here. The very interesting decoration up at the top. I haven't seen that before. An elaborate set of umbrellas, or bells if you want. And then that central bell, then the rectangular center portion, and then the base, which is indented. And here we're getting an elaborate gold, but somehow different. I think it may be that the gold work has work on itself that's detailed. That may be what I'm seeing that looks different. I'd have to get both videos out and compare them. Now this looks more like a princess than a Buddha, but it may be a Buddha. A lovely smell of incense. Ceremonial drum. Can you believe they have to tell people not to smoke in a church? Have they really become that crass? I mean, the smokers. Now here's a rather simple but very explanatory in the sense of visual of the different poses or styles that the Buddha is seen in. And these are little banks or offering tubs, so you can put coins in there as a form of merit. The more merit that you give in Buddhism, the higher the probability is that you can reduce the number of rebirths of your life over time, in other words, reincarnation, and thereby reach nirvana, or the ultimate state of being. Here the Buddha, notice that above the Buddha is the flame and the two flames on the side, and there the Buddha is cloaked. I suppose one who's skilled at this can tell what style this is by the smile or the facial expression, but I can't. Here's some rather cartoonish murals. This one, for example, notice the dog smoking a pipe. And presumably the old man in the tree to the left is here, giving merit to probably a monk of some sort. And maybe this is even him on the left getting directions. Again, all of these panels that I'm not even showing in order could tell us a story if we knew it. Certainly looks like war. Is this the old man finally in nirvana? Looks like it to me. Again, these are not in order since we wouldn't know what it meant anyway. Certainly seems dressed like royalty or mythology. And we'll take a little look at the exterior entryway ceiling. And some of the decoration on the entry columns. These, whatever they are, hangings are pretty. Some interesting characters. Don't know if they're supposed to symbolize a specific mythology or just for fun. Looks like something from Star Wars or one of the newer movies. This is just a little worshiping Buddha on the corner of what probably is a government property, since it has a large picture of the king. This kind of thing is everywhere, since for a Buddhist to make merit or offering, you do it at any time you feel like it. There's no prescription as to schedule. Just wanted to get this little garden gazebo picnic bench device. That is so pretty. Imagine what that would cost in the United States. You could even find anybody capable of making it. This is the Chiang Mai police station. But I wanted to get a picture of this for Jim Whalen, so that he will know that all over the world, police envision themselves in the same circumstance. I can't tell for sure whether this is helping somebody, like the public in general, or a fallen comrade. And from this perspective, I can see the small boy there probably looking at his father. So I suspect this is a police officer helping a fallen man, a father, and probably symbolizes the public at large. Throw them in this, Jim, for their ride from the cowboy bar to the police station at 20 below. That might give them a little reality check, not to mention sober them up. Very similar to the last one we looked at. Even the columns have somewhat the same design, but more the use of teak wood here. And here in this little house, this interesting character with this tower coming off the top of the house, and a symbolic something or other sticking out from even the tower. And at the top, a bird, which is perhaps still another evolutionary transition from the Naga points that we see on the Wihan they're supposed to be snakes, but look like birds. Now I'll flash over so you can see what I'm talking about. There, see? Those are supposed to be Naga, or snakes, deflecting spirits falling from the sky, but they begin to look like birds. Now this is dramatically different than something I've seen once, and that is where the railings on the stairway banisters are snakes or nagas. And here, more like dragons, but very, very dramatic. And notice how this huge, massive tree is supported. This may be what I think is called the Bodhi, B-O-D-H-I tree, which is a religious tree that's usually planted whenever one of these wat complexes is built. So this supporting here is not an idle structure. Notice that this one big one has a very decorative point at the top. These are not monks, they're young boys who enter in for anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So theoretically, I'm now at the end of that T, where there's a 1 and a little red temple called Wat Singh. And it's certainly a very impressive size, it's a very impressive complex, so I'll enter into that as long as my dress is appropriate. Hopefully it is. This looks like a monk with his begging bowl. Certainly a grand and building, a Wihan. This is probably a panel of famous or well-known monks. And in the background you can hear a monk saying words to a couple who are making a merit offering of some sort. Beautiful music, isn't it? Very soothing. Here at Banister Naga again. Here, a much smaller temple, but a very pretty temple. Don't know what its use is. Oh, look at the detail. A minute ago I could hear that little bell. Just imagine the person who had to lay out this design and then those who executed it. Now here are these beautiful reliefs. Notice the almost 360 degree of the one here on the corner. Notice the lotus blossom motif. And this very large building is not a Wihan, I don't believe. I think it's just a large meeting hall. I think one where monks are not consecrated, but brought into the service, for lack of a better term. Here an interesting structure, a bell tower, obviously, since that's a bell. And there's a rope for ringing it. And a sign saying, don't ring it. And then whatever this vessel shape is, I don't know. But here, a very lovely building. Beautiful painted detail on the top portion. Here, a huge Chedi, pretty much in the classic design, except for the treatment of the top. Notice it appears to have a balcony at the bottom of that spire. Notice how the lower part is well draped, and the rectangular base is clearly that, with an elephant protruding from each of its walls. And notice that there above the door are two of those naga, or snakes, that have tails entwined at the top. A couple of princesses balance the lower portion. And here, this banister appears to have, rather than snakes, a symbolic lotus blossom. but protected by two very gruff lions. Now, as you can see from this view, this building houses its own Chedi, a very elaborate and well-decorated one, with the facsimile of a jade Buddha. A Naga protecting that corner there. Thank you. Now notice how bejeweled this Buddha is, and also notice the aura behind it and the facsimile of flames. Even the snake itself is heavily jeweled. I'm guessing that this is a flowered as well as a budded lotus. Notice that the walls are perhaps teaked. I don't know whether this door treatment is a Buddha. It looks like it with the spire. But notice how the clothes look very like armament. And of course the sword adds credence to that idea. Certainly keeping with a protector of the temple, but seems somehow contradictory to the concept of Buddha. And are those peacocks at the top? Now we're at the other end, and I hate to use the word redundant because it's not totally redundant, but even if it were, it can't really be called redundant. It's too spectacular. It houses, though, as a difference, instead of an entranceway, it has with another Buddha. And notice how the Buddha's hair is painted. Now, a detail I hadn't noticed about this Naga is notice that this Naga's head is issuing from the body of another Naga, which may symbolize rebirth. Notice like a boar has that extra tooth, but instead of coming out somewhere in the front, it comes out right at the joint of the jaw. I'm guessing that these may be a pile of begging bowls, for lack of a better term, used by the monks to collect morning offerings from the folks. Here another very pretty temple building. And again, notice the stone Naga. I don't think they're carved, they're probably out of cement. It would be interesting if some scholar of art history did a study of the design patterns of gold work all over the world, whether it's on buildings, on fabric, on metal, to see if there's any similarity in pattern. I mean, when you think about it, for the human intellect, a square or rectangle is a natural, intuitive design element, as probably are diamonds and V-shapes and circles. It'd be interesting to see how much commonality there is in cultures across today's world, but across the time of history. Certainly one distinction between cultures would be where their emphasis was on motifs, like here's a floral motif and the use of the lotus blossom. Okay, this is just the detail surrounding the entry door of this temple. Were it actually done in gold, and I don't think it is, I think it's painted, it would be an incredibly valuable work, I would think. But it reminds me so much, although gargantuan in size in comparison, to the gold work of the Catholic Church and the silver work that you see all over the Christian world. Don't know what this bird is. Don't know if that's supposed to be its big, huge feather in the back. And notice the naga goes all the way up and intertwines above the head there, I think. This is almost overwhelming of its richness. Some fool with a damn cell phone. I've seen panels like this before. These appear to be quite old, but who knows? Much of this work is deteriorating.